It brought on a drug court program specifically for the operation. It also added expungement programs to help clear records of those that were trying to get clean and restart their life. It also added this whole element of sober living.
That was Nate McDonald, Assistant Deputy Director for the Department of Workforce Services, back in November 2019. Responding to a report that the ACLU criticized about Operation Rio Grande. Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight on rehabilitating Utah's homeless population. Tonight we are featuring 3 different local programs aimed at helping unsheltered individuals in our state get back on their feet. We begin with the homeless court. Joining us now live via Zoom is Judge Jeanne Robison with the Salt Lake City Justice Court. Judge Robison, thank you for making time to be part of the discussion tonight. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Judge, let's start by talking about the challenges that some of our unsheltered community members face when it comes to their records. What barriers can exist when they're trying to rehabilitate their lives?
Well, having an active warrant can stop people from accepting some housing vouchers. It can stop people from accepting employment. I've had people tell me, my boss says he'll take me back if I get this warrant recalled. And it can stop their benefits. For instance, SNAP and other benefits can be stopped, or if you're applying, you can be denied benefits. So getting warrants cleared can help you either apply for and receive benefits, or if your benefits have been stopped, allow you to resume those benefits.
So these are really big barriers that stand in their way of jobs and housing and whatnot. Where did the idea of the homeless court come from, and when did it start? I also want to know, how did you become involved?
The homeless court, the model that we follow was started in San Diego, and the judge who started it in Salt Lake, Judge John Baxter, started it in 2004 and has been operating it since 2004. And he visited San Diego and modeled our program after their program. I became involved when a number of years ago we first brought Homeless Connect to Salt Lake City, a big event to offer homeless services across the board, whether it's employment, veterans, housing, medical. And one of our judicial assistants brought me a flyer and said, hey, are we going to be participating in Homeless Connect? So we looked at it and invited ourselves. And because Judge Baxter was running his normal homeless court program that day, I said I would take the show on the road, so to speak, and go to the Salt Palace where they were holding Homeless Connect and offer our services there. And so that's just kind of become my involvement, is when we do satellite operations, as I like to call them. I've been involved in running those satellite operations.
Well, I
when
learned
we take
something
homeless
today.
court on the road, so to speak.
Yeah, I had no idea the homeless court had been around since 2004. I knew it had been around for several years. I didn't know it had been around for 17 years. So let's talk about what kind of items on a record would the homeless court be willing to recall? Is there anything that's off limits?
Well, ours is a misdemeanor court, so we typically don't have someone coming in with a sort of warrant that you wouldn't recall, for instance, a homicide or something of that nature. So we're pretty willing to recall warrants at homeless court. We're not always able to adjudicate cases there. If you have assaultive conduct, domestic violence, driving under the influence, things that impact community safety or the safety of victims, we typically don't adjudicate those at homeless court. If you see a judge there, we may recall your warrant and give you a court date, so your warrant isn't a barrier to accepting a housing voucher or employment or getting your benefits restarted or applying for benefits. But then if you don't appear at the court date we give you, then a warrant could reissue. So we try to remove that barrier, but we're going to hold you accountable. You need to follow through and have your case be heard. Now, so many of the cases we hear at homeless courts are the sort of cases that arise out of being homeless: camping in public, being in the park after hours, public intoxication, misdemeanor possession, public urination. The sort of cases that arise out of homelessness are the sort of cases that we typically adjudicate there at the homeless court.
Going off of what you're saying there, is there anything that these unsheltered individuals have to do in exchange, or maybe an incentive for them to have their warrants recalled or to have their court cases adjudicated as appropriate?
Not to have their warrants recalled, but obviously when we adjudicate their cases, they're not forced to plead guilty at homeless court. They have all of the rights that they would have showing up at a regular court. They can maintain their innocence, they can ask for a trial, but if they choose to enter into a plea bargain with the prosecution, then an appropriate sentence is handed down. So they do face consequences for their criminal conduct if in fact they plead guilty or are found guilty of criminal conduct. It can be a fine, it can be a community service to work off the fine, obviously. It can be treatment hours. We accept treatment hours to satisfy the fine or the community service. So if you're going to engage or will engage in substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment, we'll accept those hours and count those hours towards your community service obligation or towards your fine. So we can help you work off the problem, the debt to the community, so to speak, while also working on the things that may be some of the reasons why you're experiencing homelessness.
Judge, we have about 30 seconds left. What has the response been like from the community and the unsheltered individuals who have benefited from this program? And what's next for the homeless court?
They're very appreciative of the fact that we're willing to work with them, particularly that we treat them with respect and dignity, which they don't often experience. Some often just walk by and don't even notice them or pretend not to notice them, so they're appreciative. I have to give a shout out to the Salt Lake City Prosecutor's Office and the Salt Lake Legal Defenders Association, who are critical partners in our justice court. And what's next? We're looking at maybe having once a month, in addition to Judge Baxter running homeless court out of the Wiegand Center twice a month. We're looking at maybe taking it to areas where there are encampments once a month and moving around the city to various encampments and offering it as we have during the winter months. We've been participating in resource fairs when they're looking to close down encampments. We've been there to help people remove those barriers and accept services that are being offered. And we're looking at maybe doing that once a month now.
What a great program. You've been hearing from Judge Jeanne Robison with the Salt Lake City Justice Court. Judge, thank you so much for joining us to talk about the homeless court. It was great to have you as a part of our discussion.
Again, thank you so much for the invite.
Ultimately, it's about reducing the harm that comes from drug use. Syringe exchange programs do not increase drug use, and in fact, they actually decrease it because of that point of contact.
That was Heather Bush, viral hepatitis and syringe exchange coordinator for the Utah Department of Health back in April 2017, talking about local needle exchange programs that safely dispose used needles and provide clean needles for those battling drug addiction. Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on rehabilitating Utah's homeless population. Tonight, we are featuring 3 different local programs aimed at helping unsheltered individuals get back on their feet. In this segment, we'll discuss the needle exchange program. Joining us now live in studio is Damon Harris, harm reduction specialist for Utah Naloxone. Damon, thank you for being here tonight. We're excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, Rosie.
Damon, I'd like to start with your personal story. What would you be willing to share about the adversities that you've experienced that inspired the community work that you do today?
We could spend decades talking about my story, but just to kind of summarize it in a few seconds, I've spent many years incarcerated. I've spent many years as an IV drug user. I've done every intervention that's ever been suggested by our culture, and the only thing that changed is when I met Damon where he's at, and then things seemed to. Then I could explore the truth of what the problems that exist in Damon's life.
That's what I love about you and the work that you're doing now, is that you've been through it. So when you meet people who you are trying to help, you can say, hey, I've been there. I know what you're going through and I know you can do it. So tell me about the work that you're doing now with Utah Naloxone and what services your organization provides to our unsheltered population.
So some of the service that we provide, so just to say, I've been doing this for I'm going on my 5th year. So I was hired by Utah Naloxone because of my lived experience and because of my lived experience with the needle exchange. And they hired me to do outreach for our most needed population. And right now, it's our unsheltered population. So some of the services we provide are HIV, Hep C prevention, not prevention, but testing, and we also do STI, STD testing and care, wound care, syringe exchange, fentanyl testing, strips, and naloxone.
Now, for those who may think, why are we providing a way for these individuals to continue their drug habit? Could you actually help explain how the program benefits these individuals and the community in the long run?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that needle exchanges enable people, and you're right. We are the biggest enablers in the world. We enable people to live. We enable people to change their lives. We enable people to get real with their conditions so they can, remove the problems that they're facing.
That's a great way to put it. Now, your organization also does needle cleanup events as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I organize some events here and there when the need arises. We go out in the community and pick up misplaced syringes because, historically when you got areas that have drug use, you're going to have syringes. And it used to be really bad right before Operation Rio Grande. But the good thing about needle exchanges, they help communities self-correct. So where we would find, maybe on a outing, a few hundred syringes in a few hours, now we're maybe lucky to find, 15 to 20. But yeah, we organize in the community and just, we know the importance of it. And also we know that some of these things are stigmatized and, if we don't help clean up the problem, then it's just gonna work against them and our program.
But that's a big difference in what you're doing. And you've been doing this for several years now. What are some success stories that you've seen come out of this program?
I think the biggest success stories is like when you offer people the tools to empower their lives so they become self-determined, you'll just see these changes and they'll be so much more engaged in their healing. And what's really great is like we give them all these tools and just to watch these guys like help each other, correct behaviors, I guess, if that's how we're talking. And those are, because sometimes we think about abstinence as the success story, right? And that's not the success story. What's really successful is if you got somebody that's using syringes or sharing them to not sharing them, that is a success story. If you go, if somebody's going from injecting heroin to smoking it, that's the successful recovery story. So that's basically where we're at. We're just trying to meet people where they're at so we can help them get to a different place in their lives.
That's the thing about curbing drug addiction is it's baby steps. You can't just go from 0 to 100. You really have to meet people at where they are and where they're ready at. Now, if someone at home wants to help, what are some of your organization's needs that they can help contribute to?
If you go on our website, there's a button somewhere on there where you can donate money. We also do some volunteering on Wednesdays from noon to 3. I help build the injection kits for the needle exchange with people, and then the other half will help build the naloxone kits. So if you just email us and see how you can get involved, we'll plug you in, and we're all about community and elevating community. And so come be a part of the change you want to see.
Now, you've been hearing from Damon Harris, Harm Reduction Specialist for Utah Naloxone. Damon, thank you for sharing your personal story with us. You are doing great work in the community. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of people can't afford the necessities to keep their dogs, and this helps the people because these people, that's all they have. So we want to keep their little furry babies healthy.
That was Margie Varela, co-founder and president of the Street Dog Crew, talking to ABC4 News back in July 2019 at a free pet vaccination clinic for the dogs of Utah's unsheltered community in downtown Salt Lake City's Pioneer Park. Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on rehabilitating Utah's homeless population. Tonight, we are featuring 3 different local programs aimed at helping unsheltered individuals get back on their feet. Joining us now live in studio is Margie Varela, the co-founder and president of the Street Dog Crew, the person you heard from at the beginning of the segment. Margie, thanks so much for being here tonight and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Rosie.
Margie, what prompted you to start Street Dog Crew and where did the inspiration come from?
I work in the city and just seeing people outside with their dogs, and you meet some of these homeless people and all they want is to get money to feed their pets. So I just started feeling sorry for them, and I started buying dog food and putting them in baggies and putting them in my car. And every time I seen somebody with the dog, I'd stop and say hello and see how they were doing, and just started handing out food.
Follow-up question for you. When did you start the Street Dog Crew? How many years has it been?
We started, I did this by myself for quite a while, and then I met a couple people on different organizations feeding the homeless, and then we decided that there was nothing for animals to, and that's all they have. So in 2017, we started Street Dog Crew of Utah, and we've been going strong ever since.
Now, different people get a dog for different reasons. What are some reasons that an unsheltered person may have a dog?
Well, some people don't choose to be homeless. They probably got homeless from reasons of we don't know. Companion, I mean, sometimes that's all they have, and I'll tell you, some of these homeless people take very good care of their pets.
Do you have any idea how many unsheltered people in Utah have a dog?
It was pretty low there for a while, but being that there's more homeless people because of the COVID, there's probably about 25%, maybe more that we don't know about.
That is a big number. Now, do you know if our local homeless shelters allow unsheltered residents to stay at their facilities with their dogs if they're not service animals?
Yes, they're starting to let the pets. We provide them with carriers and leashes, harnesses and stuff, and they have to have their shots in order to stay at the shelter, and if they're and muzzles for some pets.
Well, that's good to know, because I know that that was a dilemma before. Individuals would have to choose between staying at a shelter or leaving their dogs behind. So that's good to know that they're starting to let dogs into shelters. What is the need for our unsheltered community members who have a dog, and what kind of services and resources does the Street Dog Crew offer?
We offer food, dog supplies, collapsible bowls. We supply harnesses, leashes, toys, blankets, whatever we can afford to buy supplies. Every 6 months we do a free vaccination clinic. When we get funds, we try to help some animals that get sick, especially when they have to put down. We try to help them with that and get a paw print for them so they have a memory of their pet.
I absolutely love the services that you provide to the community. These are crucial things when you love your dog so much. How is your organization funded, and how do you get your resources and supplies?
Well, we do a lot of Facebook for one, and I was very fortunate for most of my volunteers work for Walmart, so they're charitable donations through employees and through Cargill, and Jeanne's Brew donates a lot to us. Humane Society donates a lot of food. Just people on Facebook, and now with COVID we can't fundraise, so it's been a little struggle because we want to be able to do more. Animal Care Center helps us with vaccinations. And Salt Lake County was helping us with spay and neuter, but now that program is gone. And what my dream would like to be is to help the low-income people get their animals spay and neutered.
I can tell you have a great team. We've been seeing them in these photos that you've provided to us. Now, if someone is watching this at home and wants to help, what can they do? What is your organization's needs right now?
Most of our needs right now is cat food, dry cat food, dog food, just dog supplies and donations so we could help more animals with medical care.
Well, Margie, you and your Street Dog Crew, you are doing great things in the community, and we're so glad to hear that there is a resource like the Street Dog Crew for our unsheltered population. All right, folks, you've been hearing from Margie Varela, the co-founder and president of the Street Dog Crew. Margie, thank you so much for all that you're doing. Thank you for being here on the show. It was great to chat with you tonight.
Thank you for having me, Rosie.